How are you guys?
How are you doing? It looks pretty much like Michael D now has it in the bag. What's your reaction?
Well, Michael D, I think, will make a fine president, and I think he does have it in the bag, and I think the pattern now is very, very clear. We're very pleased with the outcome from our point of view. Mark ran a very strong campaign. A Republican vote, an increased Republican vote came out, and I think that he's managed to highlight a number of crucial issues. Obviously the financial hardship and the unemployment, the issues of the day, but also the fact now that there is an unanswerable case for citizens from the north to have the ability to vote in the election of their president. So there's a constitutional convention planned by government in the near future, and this is one of the key issues that it has to address.
What are the long-term effects in terms of Martin McGuinness returning back to the day job, so to speak?
Well, he'll be back at his desk. I can't tell you exactly on which day. Martin will go back. The work in the north will continue, and obviously I think even his sharpest critics, and maybe even some of his most unfair critics in the course of this campaign, have recognised the incredible work that he has been doing in the north. So that will continue. We still have very significant work to do there. And I've said to others, to some of you in the course of today, that really for Sinn Fein this is a milestone election. I mean, there was a time, and it's not so long ago, that Republicans would have been considered almost a marginal voice in southern politics, and today we changed that by contesting this election. I think we made clear that we are part and parcel of the political fabric of this state, the political conversation, and for us, so as a political party, it's very significant.
You must be happy too also that it was your candidate really put an end to Sean Gallagher's campaign.
Well, I mean, our candidate brought into the public domain questions that Mr. Gallagher had to answer, and that's how it happened, and that fell very well for Michael D. Higgins, who will be the ninth President of Ireland.
Was the high-risk strategy running such a high-profile candidate from the north down in the south?
I don't think so. I think certainly running somebody from Derry in the same way as electing somebody from Belfast raises the whole issue, not just simply of partition, but of the fact that there are passport-carrying Irish citizens who can't vote for the president. So I think it's highlighted that. When we took the decision to stand, we also took the decision to run our best candidate, and Martin McGuinness, by any standard, is a person of huge accomplishment. He is a person who can articulate and almost personifies a Republican message, and he was the best person to go forward, and I think he did a very, very fine job, and we're very, very proud of him.
Would you be the best, better candidate because you don't have that kind of baggage?
No, Declan, I wouldn't have been the best candidate. No, not at all. And you know, you may describe what Martin has as baggage. That may be your conception of it. Martin has a life history behind him, which has been well rehearsed in the course of this debate. He also has a very significant contribution to make to Irish politics. Well, he also has a very significant contribution to make to politics north and south. And his life history didn't stop in 1974. In fact, it continued many decades later. Through next year will mark the 30th anniversary of the first election in which he stood, Declan. I don't know if you were around covering that at that time. So that's where it sits. I think we've had a very good day out. The vote is up all across the state, and
what was the background to that coup online? Were you involved in the preparation of that, or where did it come from?
Well, Mr. Morgan contacted Martin McGuinness, as everybody knows. Martin had the information in respect of that particular fundraiser. It was clear from what Mr. Morgan was saying that Sean Gallagher, far from being a bit player in the scenario, was actually in the middle of it all, and he took the decision, very correctly in my view, to put that question to Mr. Gallagher on the night. I should also say that the story had been carried in some of the newspapers prior to the debate. So whilst Martin was very direct in his questioning, it wasn't a new story per se.
Do you think the focus on Martin's IRA past during the campaign may now dissuade sort of middle of the ground voters from maybe, voting for Sinn Fein in the future?
No, I don't.
But I mean, surely there was this, particularly the focus on killings within this state. I mean, it must have had an impact.
I would like to think that the impact around the discussion of victims, be they in the southern jurisdiction or the northern, would actually spur government on and all parties concerned to actually establish the process of reconciliation that we need. And you're probably aware this is something that we've argued long and hard for. I think it would be really shameful if the issue of victims is simply dusted down to be used as a political assault in the course of elections. We accept absolutely that people were injured and hurt, including by the IRA and indeed by the British state and others. We accept absolutely that those people need closure and healing, and we know for certain sure that we need to have an agreed process by which we address all of the victims, not in any hierarchy, but all of the victims, north and south. And for that to happen, it requires the political will of governments here and in Britain. And I really hope that maybe one of the things that this election would achieve is to actually apply political pressure now for that to happen.
Do you think that the constant focus on his involvement in the IRA post-74 and his frequent denials, which weren't believed by the interviewers, in the end will reduce credibility of it?
Well,
the credibility of anything he said.
Well, I mean, perhaps you could answer that. I mean, in the final analysis, I think that people make an assessment of Martin in the round, and I think for a lot of people the focus would be more on the last 10 or 20 years rather than harking back to the 1970s and the bog set. But I do accept that it was the focus of questioning by the media. I think it's also instructive that the person who led that really full-on assault on Martin, querying even his right to stand in the election, Gay Mitchell, fared so badly. And in fact, Martin McGuinness outpolled that candidate in every single constituency.
So what does this result mean for Sinn Féin? Like, is it going to herald a new development in the party in terms of...
Well, I think certainly since the last general election, there's a sense in which the party has found its feet in the south. I think if you look at the team of people we have in the Dáil and the Shannon, I think if you look at the political work we've done over the last number of months, that becomes apparent. And we're nowhere near even starting to reach our potential in southern politics. That's my view. And I think the significance of today is that it's another step in that process. And it's not simply a case of us wishing to win elections or win contests just to achieve. That's not an end in itself. It is genuinely about offering a political alternative, and I think if we look to the last number of years, it's apparently clear that is required.
Would you have done anything differently in the campaign?
Well, Martin canvassed every one of the 32 counties. We had huge rallies all across the country, with thousands of volunteers out working on the campaign. So from our point of view, that was very successful. It was our first run at a campaign like this, so undoubtedly when the dust settles and when we chew over things, I hope that we learn from it. But I think for our first outing, I think we did very, very well.
Could we see Martin McGuinness run again in elections?
Who's to say?
Is he going back to the day job now?
Well, obviously his role as Deputy First Minister will be to the forefront of his mind now.
And just on a point of sort of fact as regards to the first count, what's the party's estimate as to where it's likely to end up? Is it 15%? Do you think it's going to fall below council?
I'm told that it's anything between 14 and 18, so take your pick. It's very difficult. People have tallies, and I know that counts are coming in. The tallies seem to be fairly accurate, but I couldn't give you a final figure.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
No problem.